Hi everyone, this is Arcadius and welcome back to Naval Creed. Today we'll be going over the pinnacle of the British heavy cruiser line, that is the Duke of Edinburgh. However, since we already have an Edinburgh in the game, I've gone ahead and renamed her Admiral, and that's how I will be calling her for the rest of the video. So this is actually a very powerful cruiser, a lot more powerful, I would say, than the Tier 9 Drake that we went over last time. Not only do we get quad turrets, but we get bigger guns and just a lot more HE spam. So let's take a look at what we have first. We have 55,600 health, 18% torpedo damage resistance, up to a maximum of 254 millimeters of armor. 250, let's see, what would that be? Actually, that's about 10 inches or so, I'd say. Belt is only 178, which is 7 inches. So that's actually pretty decent for a heavy cruiser. And then it looks like the turret faces are pretty well armored, so that might be where the 10 inches is. But for a heavy cruiser, she does on paper have a lot of armor. You can still see that we have the little back armor right here as well, just like we had on Albemarle and Drake. Let's take a look at the Citadel size. Let's see, do we still have that shell trap? No, we do not. So we got rid of the shell trap, and it's even slightly angled, which may give the possibility of somewhat bouncing shells, but the Citadel roof is not usually that well armored, so probably not. But at least we don't have that shell catch, which does increase our survivability. That being said, we still do have a lot of freeboard. Actually, let me bring that Citadel back, and it's actually quite above the waterline. So if you get broadside, you're still able to be Citadeled relatively easily from the broadside. So do keep that in mind. Guns, 234 millimeter guns. These are the same guns, I'm pretty sure, as Warrior. The Warrior has had some changes lately, I think, just with their rate of fire. Let's see, 3.6, 24, 44. Alright, so those are the ones there. And what does Admiral have? Yeah, we have, everything looks the same except the rate of fire. So we have 4.8 rounds a minute, which is a lot better. And we also get quadruple gun turrets. We have 2 in the front and 1 quad in the back, which is really good actually. If you wanted to, you could bow tank with the ship and still use 8 guns, which is pretty much unheard of when it comes to bow tanking cruisers. I don't think there's any cruiser that can actually have 8 guns facing forward. I think the maximum would be something like Minotaur or like Des Moines, Worcester, which all have 6. Can't think of any that have 8. I could be wrong though, but as far as I'm concerned, this is the one with the most gun barrels facing forward. These guns are amazingly good in terms of high explosive. You can set tons of fires and you get like 10,000 12,000 damage on some volleys. Armor piercing is there. It's good against cruisers, or at least broadsiding cruisers, but against anything else, I still find it quite disappointing. As I've mentioned throughout the entire British heavy cruiser line, unless you're Hawkins, you don't really need armor piercing all that much. High explosive does just as good, and it has the bonus of adding and setting fires and destroying modules. So I just tend to stick with HE spam. I can see really good fast shell velocity. Where Warrior was the fastest shell velocity at tier 9, we are not the fastest shell velocity at tier 10 with Admiral. That still goes to Moskva or Project 66, the rank point ship. She has like 985 meters per second or something like that in terms of cruisers, fastest speed. So those are pretty fast shells, but these are not that much slower, and it can still nail targets at range relatively easily. Speaking of range, let's see what we have. 17.7 kilometers. Secondary range is 5.0. We have secondaries. We have the 114s that we find on Daring. We have 2 turrets on each side. We literally have like a Daring and a third on each side. They don't have the range of Daring. Remember, they're only 5 kilometers, but they do have the shell arcs and they fire high explosive. And honestly, these are way more useful than you would think they'd be, especially against cruisers and destroyers. They get a decent amount of damage because of the angle that they come in. They just impact the superstructure. and do straight HE damage. So those are actually pretty good. I definitely wouldn't recommend a full secondary build, don't get me wrong, but in terms of cruiser secondaries, there's only a handful of ships that can actually say that they are useful. Next, we also have torpedoes. I think it is a quintuple launcher. Let me just double check, because Drake had a quintuple. Yep, we have 0x5 quintuple mounts. That's nice. They are situated in the stern-ish area, and they still have pretty good arcs. Nothing wrong with the torpedoes. Pretty good as well. Similar to Warrior, but Warrior gets those on-deck torpedoes, and she gets 2 quintuples to each side. So you definitely aren't going to be as strong as, well, Warrior in terms of torpedo power, but you do outgun her. So that's the bonus there. Let's take a look at AA defense. I do have some buffs to my range, but that's actually some pretty decent AA as well. That's what, over 300 DPS, almost out to 4.5 kilometers. That can take down quite a few planes. And then you even have a little bit of inner ring DPS as well. Let's see here, speed. We have 33 knot speed, so we're not exactly speedy, but we're not exactly slow either. And then we have a fighter. We have 5 of them, and this one does launch a triple fighter. Again, these are the Supermarine Spitfires, like we've seen since Surrey, I'm pretty sure. So yeah, it's nice having at least a triple fighter squadron above you. And yeah, I think that's about it. All in all, this ship is pretty decent. I don't have any big complaints about her, other than her size is pretty much a drawback, and the amount of freeboard. Like I said, she is a very tall ship, and even her superstructure is pretty easy to hit as well. So if you're focused, you will take a lot of damage. So you just kind of have to stay at range and use your shell velocity to, shoot the targets at range pretty easily, while using your maneuverability and smokescreen that you can equip to limit the damage to your own ship. So let's toss her into a game and see what we can do. Alright, let's see what kind of game we have today. 4 battleships, 4 cruisers, 1 destroyer, no carriers, so that's fine with me. And let's see, we have Missouri, Komarov, which is the sister ship of Kremlin. We have Yamato and Alfred de Gross. And there's Admiral, Magdeburg, Des Moines, Alaska. Alaska's interesting. She's pretty low MM matchmaking tier. And then we have a Grozavoy as well. Alright, so we're just going to head out in this direction. Torpedo angles, as you can see, are absolutely gorgeous. No issue there. Let's check gun angles. Something like that. That is not a very strong angle. You will definitely take a lot of pen damage if you use all of your 3 guns and are being shot at. And I could expect some citadels as well. Even if you have 7 inches of belt armor, and it's not really going to save you all that much. Alright, so let's just start heading this way here. We just gotta wait for our first targets. 17.7 km, which means I pretty much have them already in range by the time we spot them. We can put our fighter up. As you can see, we have a triple fighter. Torpedoes are already loaded. I didn't look at the range, unfortunately. We can go back to that, but I think it's the same as Drake. I think it's 10 km. Let's see. So Grozavoy is about our torpedo distance, which is about, 10 km about. So we have 10 km torpedoes, which means that no one is in range yet. I do have health buffs and speed buffs applied, so do keep that in mind, which means I actually have to slow down in order to use my smokescreen. And let's start shooting this Grozovoy. The accuracy is impeccable, already 2 fires and 9 hits. I do not use her with the accuracy module. Believe it or not, I use her with gun rotation and reload, so I could actually make her even more accurate. That's the scary part about this ship. Might as well just pop some torpedoes out. Who knows, maybe we'll get a hit. But as you can see, I'm doing pretty decent amount of damage and setting fires. Let's try the armor piercing on her broadside just to see what we can do. But as you can see there, high explosive alone did over 11,000 damage. And now she angles in. But I might be able to do something against Alaska here. Yeah, pretty disappointing in my opinion. That's why I don't usually use it. So we're going to switch back to high explosive. Might get a couple torpedo hits, believe it or not. There's one. Yes, he double fire immediately, though I'm going to get a torpedo hit, so possibly... Oh no, she just barely missed it. Also, you see how that Yamato just immediately destroyed that other Admiral? Yeah, it's... And the Guam. There she goes. Bye. Alright, so this might be the best chance I can try and show off the armor piercing on this Des Moines, because she is pretty broadside. There she is. Okay. So let's see what we can do. As you can see, you don't really need a lot of lead for these shells either. Your fast shell velocity means you can do quite a bit of damage really quickly with a little bit of lead. And I expect citadels, but I'm only getting pens and ricochets in that case. Oop, right at the smoke screen. Let's keep going. So yeah, you can see how armor piercing is pretty disappointing. And then I can switch over to high explosive, and let's see what kind of damage I can do there. Though she is going to get out of the way, so damage is 0. Alright, cool. Alright, I think it's time to start cooking some battleships. Our smoke screen is almost up, though we're barely in range of everyone. So let's actually see if we can get a little bit closer. Gonna put our fighter back up. We already lost 3 of them, which means we only have 2 left. Immediately get a fire on the Yamato. Consistent damage all the way around. What's the range to that Freddy? Okay, well, we smoked up and we can't see them? Really? Well, that's upsetting. Well, we might as well use our smoke screen and see what we can do against this Missouri while we try and get some eyes on those ships over there. And this is pretty much how you play the game. You just use your high explosive to take down a lot of HP on enemy ships, and you use cover and concealment in your smoke screen to avoid shells as much as possible. And you just burn the enemy ships down. Oh, we have some eyes on ships. Might as well just dump some torpedoes in case we hit that cruiser. Immediately gets a fire on the Komarov. Let's see, can we do that to Yamato as well? Alright, I'm sick of the smoke screen. Let's go. Alright, yep, I think we are going to get a torpedo hit on the Des Moines. No? That's actually a pretty impressive dodge, not gonna lie. Alright, so let's just finish her off with the good old-fashioned way. You can see my secondaries actually shooting here as well. You can see they're actually doing some damage. You can see how high the angle is that they're coming in from. And there she goes. Ooh, those are big shells actually. Don't really want to tangle with those, because those will probably hurt a lot. So we are going to angle a little bit. And still try and use all of our guns. We got another fire. We're out of airplanes. Not in torpedo range. Well, no one is. But I could send some this way just in case the Yamato decides to come this way in my direction. And hope the Alzis doesn't get in the way. Got another fire. Ooh, that hurt. I do have buffs to my fire chance, but this is still pretty respectable. Alright, so let's pop another smoke screen. We did lose sight of the Komarov, unfortunately, because I was actually trying to get into a position where I could shoot her. But we're just going to have to focus down on this Yamato here for right now. That was our last smoke screen. Alright, so let's work on Freddy a little bit. We just capped the base. There's Komarov. I don't think I can... 11,500 damage in HE. We're going to torpedo the Yamato. Nice. And... okay, we technically did not torpedo the Alza, so that's good. Torpedoes are up in about 5 seconds. These reload pretty quickly as well, it looks like. Got another fire on Freddy. And pop another heal. Remember, I do have 4 of them since I used the elite one, I guess you could say. Let's see if we can take out this Yama before our smoke screen goes down. We did just get 2 more fires. I don't really want to be in range of secondaries from Freddy. Oh, there she goes Yama. Time to go. Komarov is around the corner now as well. Destroyed some of the torpedo tubes on Freddy. She still might soak up a torpedo. Yep, in fact, I think she is. Another fire on Komarov. Boink, torpedo on Freddy. Still 22 fires now, 3 on Komarov. Let's see what we can do against Freddy. Light some more fires here. Just aiming for the superstructure. Destroying secondary guns. I think her repair is still active. We might have caused a flooding with our torpedo hit. So that's why I'm not getting any fires. But it's okay because I just got 2 of them. And she'll sink to that. So the fires on Komarov should be going out pretty quickly. So let's see if we can... yep, there they go. Let's see what we can do to relight them. You can see how this ship is a very, very good HE spammer. Another fire, 6,000 damage. So not only do you do a ton of damage with your shells, but you're also setting a ton of fires as well. And this should be one of the last salvos. Boink, and there we go. Alright, so let's see how we ended up doing. $405,000 damage, 2 ships sunk, 312 shell hits, 3 torpedo hits, 3 aircraft shot down, 24 fires, 2 floodings, 6 modules destroyed, 1 occupied base, and 8 secondary hits for over 8,500 base XP and almost half or 500 free XP as well. So let's take a look. High explosive did 168,000 damage. Armor piercing did less than 20. Considering we fired or we hit 33 times and we did less than 20,000 damage, it's pretty disappointing. Fires did 180,000 damage. That's more than my main guns, or, well, pretty close to it actually. More than HE combined. Secondary battery did a little bit of damage. We didn't really have a chance to show it off, but again, don't really be banking on your secondaries. If you're that close, try and use your torpedoes. And with torpedoes, we got 3 hits, and that gave us 35,500 damage. So that was pretty nice as well. As you can see, you easily cook battleships. That Komarov, we were able to get over 120,000 damage on. Yikes, that's good. Alright, so, as you can see, British cruiser line. Very, very good at setting fires and letting the fires do the damage for you. You have those heals, so you can heal any damage you may take. Your armor is, albeit not as bad as the British light cruisers, but it's still not necessarily tanky. You're still a cruiser. You will still take battleship damage from battleship shells. And just be careful of angling. Use your ability to use your fighters and the smoke screen to the best of your ability, and just, yeah, burn everything you can. With that, I will wrap up today's video. If you liked the video, make sure you like and subscribe, and next time we're going to go over the current event mission that is out right now. I have talked about it a little bit, but we have yet to do it, so we'll be going over that next time. And then we have a few more ships to go over, such as Charleston, Toulouse, we have Yushen, all in good time. One last thing, it is technically Wednesday update day, but I didn't see any post about it on Facebook or any other pages, and there wasn't an update to download when I entered the game today. So there may be something going on in China, not quite sure, but as of right now, I don't think there is an update this week. So no new content in that regard, so we'll just have to wait till next week to see if there's anything new. With that, I will wrap up today's video, so thank you for watching and take care.